All right, so I'm gonna skip all the side stuff, but basically, yeah. So I get to Kawhi. I wanted to get basketball videos of when I was younger, so I could study the swag flow mainly, and I wanted to study my shot, study, the moves I did, all that type of stuff. So I asked my mom and dad, or no, I called my mom on the phone. I'm on Kawhi. My mom forced me to go to Kawhi, and she said I couldn't leave. She thought I had schizophrenia. She didn't know the quadrant model was the theory of everything. So I call my mom and I'm asking her, okay, mom, can you and dad help me get basketball videos when I was younger? Because like I said, I was too afraid to just ask people. Again, my grandpa would say, yes, you probably were not in the flow. You tried to make things happen. I could have just asked. But again, I'd just come out of abuse from my family, because of the shoot away machine. And I probably wasn't in the flow. So I just wanted to get basketball videos of when I was younger. As I said before, the main person I wanted to call was my friend Malik, because I knew that his dad recorded a lot of my games. But in my mind, I told myself, first, you discover the theory of everything. First, get this out, get big, and then ask the people for the DVDs, because then they'll be more likely to give them to you because, you'll be seen as a big deal. You discover the theory of everything. People are going to respect that. People are going to see it as a big deal, and they will be willing to go out of their way to get you a lot of DVDs. But like I said, if I would have just asked them, they probably would have given them to me. But I was too afraid to just ask, because in my mind I thought if they say no, maybe they're busy, maybe they'd lost respect for you because of how your shot got messed up and stuff, and maybe they will decide they don't want to give it to you, and they'll say, oh, I don't have them. And then I thought if they say no, then I'll never get them because they don't want to be seen as liars, even if I did become big later. So I thought first get big with the quadrant model, then ask them. But another thing I thought was, well, if I could just get my dad to ask people for me, that would make things easier, because my dad could ask people for the basketball videos, and then if they say no, then I can ask them later, But my point is, if my mom and dad would have just talked to me instead of throwing me to Kawhi, then all this crazy stuff wouldn't have happened, So I asked my mom, and my mom's like, oh my God, you're 23 years old. You still care about basketball? Oh my God, get over the past. You're stuck in the past. This is why you have schizophrenia. And like I said, my grandpa's whole thing was like, if you're in the flow, you're in the eternal moment, so you never talk about the past. He told me not to talk about the past because I wasn't supposed to talk about the abuse that happened with me, my mom, and dad with the shoot away machine. But they didn't know it was a shoot away machine at this time. I never brought it up yet. So I was like, Mom, let me just talk to dad, because I want to ask him if he can maybe ask some people if they have basketball videos when I was younger. She's like, your dad isn't going to talk to you. He fucking hates you. He's embarrassed he has a schizophrenic son. You're a fucking freak. You're a loser freak. He doesn't want anything to do with you. Now, I just graduated from college. I'm in Kauai. I graduated with a bachelor's degree. And I'm telling my mom, I don't have schizophrenia. I discovered the theory of everything. Let me talk to dad. I want to talk to dad. And she's saying, no, he doesn't want anything to do with you. Don't you remember how you treated him in high school? Don't you remember? And I was like, this is the first time I ever brought up the shoot away machine, because like I said, I wasn't allowed to talk about the past. So I never brought up the past, because my grandpa had come up with that rule of, if you're in the flow, you never talk about the past. So I never brought up the past. But I said, Mom, I figured out what happened, why the problems happened in high school. I said, it was the shoot away machine that messed up and my mom went, oh my God. Oh my God, you think it was a shoot away machine? You just couldn't handle the pressure. That's what happened. You couldn't handle the pressure, and you became mentally ill, and you fell apart. It wasn't the shoot away machine. If anything, the shoot away machine would have helped. Oh my God, you don't take responsibility for anything. And again, my mom misinterpreted my grandpa's teachings. My grandpa talks about, like, take responsibility. But my grandpa would even tell me, he would say that my mom misinterpreted his teachings, and that he cast pearls of swine, and she misinterpreted it. So, and my grandpa told my mom and dad, he told my mom and dad that he didn't believe the quadrant model. He didn't believe that I discovered theory of everything. He said that he thought that I made it up and invented it so that I could stay dependent on them. And as I said, my grandpa's whole thing is like, he was an Ayn Rand fan. He's against welfare. So he's super into people being independent, which means like having a job and working hard and stuff. Because he says that if you're dependent, then that keeps you from being in the flow, because then you depend on other people. And that's what my grandpa calls ally enemy software, where if they do what you want, then you're happy. If they don't, then you're not happy. And he says also the people who give to you resent you, and it causes conflict, and that's self-confirmatory. But if you're independent, then you're more in the flow, and you're part of the anti-entropic reordering function of the universe. But like I said, I always just saw my grandpa as a Nazi white supremacist, super into working hard and being independent and being against welfare, you know. So, but my grandpa told my mom and dad, he was like, you know, what Ryan really needs is to be independent. You know, that's what Ryan really wants, is independence. Because you know, he invented the quadrant model because he wants to stay dependent on you guys. But what will help him, what will get him to, my grandpa thought if I started to work, I will let go of the quadrant model, because by working hard, it will strengthen my ego, and I will let go of this quadrant model, and I will become independent. And he just didn't, you know, he didn't believe the quadrant model because he didn't understand the nature of existence. The nature of existence is reality is the quadrant model. So I'm talking to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, it was the shoot. I'm like, oh my God, why do you care about basketball? You think it's a shoot-away machine? You're a fucking freak. You're a fucking loser. This is why you have schizophrenia, because you're stuck in the past. Oh my God, I can't. You're ridiculous. You're fucking ridiculous. You think it was a shoot-away machine? Yeah, it was a shoot-away machine. It really was. So, it was, but that's the other thing, is it's more than a shoot-away machine. It was a shoot-away machine mixed with my dad telling me to do the wrong thing. And I'm going to get to that later about, and how Malik's dad gets involved with that, and why I think my dad told me to do the wrong thing, and what it was going through his mind. But so it wasn't just a shooting machine. It was also my dad. It was a shooting machine, and my dad messed up my shot. But I wasn't allowed to say it was my dad, because, again, that was another one of my grandpa's teachings. My grandpa's teaching was, never blame anybody. Take responsibility for everything. And like I said, I thought that, again, this was white supremacy. I was like, okay, take responsibility for everything. That's victim blaming, so you blame the victim. They need to take responsibility, and it's victor extolling. Oh, you're doing good because of you, because you're in the flow, because of your higher consciousness. And I'm like, dude, that's just white supremacy. And that's why I was even more of a Marxist too. But I was always a Marxist my whole life. But this like amplified it. So so my mom's like, oh my God, you don't take responsibility for anything, because she misinterpreted my grandpa's teachings of like take responsibility for everything, you know. But my grandpa's thing is like, take responsibility. He says, but you're not responsible because you don't exist. You don't exist. There is no person. There is no thing. But you take responsibility for upgrading your software. And now I understand what he's saying, but I needed my point is, if my mom and dad would have just talked to me and seen me, all this crazy stuff wouldn't happen. So then I'm in Kauai, and I'm posting my quadrant model stuff, because I'm trying to get my quadrant model big, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'll get my quadrant model big, I'll get respect, I'll get, all that, and then I'll ask the people for the basketball videos. But as I said, my mom had my Facebook password. So again, if my mom and dad would have just talked to me, if they wouldn't have been so crazy, all this crazy stuff wouldn't have happened. So I'm writing the quadrant model stuff. I'm trying to post the quadrant model stuff to get the quadrant model stuff out. But again, so I'm doing that, and my mom has my Facebook password, so she's hiding. Every time I make a post on the quadrant model, she's hiding it. So I don't know that nobody's getting it. And I'm trying to reach out to people like, hey, what do you think of the quadrant model? But everyone's like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. And I'm like, what? So I'm thinking like people don't get the quadrant model. But I didn't know that my mom was hiding all my stuff. So I'm confused. I'm like, what's going on? So I'm like, huh? And that's when I go on INTP Central, and I'm like, hey guys, check out my quadrant model stuff. It's all on my Facebook. And they're like, dude, are you schizophrenic? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't know my mom was hiding all my stuff. I'm like, I discovered theory of everything. They're like, what are you talking about, dude? And I'm like, dude, look at my Facebook. And they're like, dude, are you schizophrenic? Like, what's going on? My mom was hiding all my stuff on my Facebook. So, it's just wild what happened to me, dude. It's so wild. It's so fucking stupid. If my mom and dad would have just talked to me, if they could have just been normal. But again, coming out of abuse, it's difficult. And I think that they, it was a difficult thing, and it was because of the shoot-away machine. So then I started to talk. I remember I called one of my coaches, and I was like, Coach, do you have any basketball videos? I asked him, and he was like, no. And I said, well, can you ask my other teammates for me? Because I was too afraid to just ask people for the basketball videos, right? And like I said, so then I start posting on my like I said, now my grandpa would say, you were trying to make things happen. You weren't just in the flow. You should just ask me. I should have just, if I was in the flow and I wasn't in fear and I wasn't trying to make things happen, yes, I probably would have just asked people. and I wouldn't have tried to make things happen and manipulate. But I was, I came out of abuse. I was in fear. This is something I wanted more than anything in the world. I wanted to study the swag flow. I had lots of swag flow my sophomore year of college when I studied the videos. I wanted to get the basketball DVDs more than anything in the world. So, and I manipulated it, and I wasn't in the flow. I could have just asked people, but so then I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll share my beliefs on the Bible, which are also really big. I had discovered, I read the whole Bible with my grandpa during college, the first time I ever read it, and I had discovered all these theories. And my premise was that the Bible was just a metaphor of the New Testament was just a metaphor of the destruction of the Roman Empire, because I was anti-white and I was pro-Jewish, and I was that way my whole life. So, and I wanted to mix the white people my whole life. I was always a Marxist. So I remember, so I'm posting all my ideas about, Elijah, he didn't really multiply the bread. It was just a metaphor for sharing. So I'm trying to say the Bible's communist, and I did a good job of trying to explain all this stuff, right? And I'm going through all of it. And then I, as I was on Kauai, I was studying the Bible a lot, and I had discovered this theory, and I'll share kind of the general premise, just that like Jesus at one point, he crosses a sea, he crosses a river, and then he, brings the pigs in Legion, and they go into pigs, or no, there's demons in Legion, and they go into pigs, and then the pigs are swallowed by water. And I was saying, okay, yeah, that was a metaphor of when the Israelites crossed the sea, and then the Egyptian army is swallowed by the water. But this was Jesus, and the pigs are the Gentiles. The pigs are the Roman Empire. And I'm thinking, white people, right? And so I'm thinking that, Jesus, this was a metaphor of Jesus destroying the Roman Empire, but the Roman legions. But it wasn't the Egyptian army this time. It was the Roman legions. And then, then Jesus crosses another sea, and he meets a Canaanite woman, and then he heals her and then multiplies bread. And I was like, that was the metaphor of when the Israelites cross another sea. And this is all chronological, right? So they cross another sea, and then they save Rahab, who I said is a Canaanite woman, and then they destroy Canaan, and then Jesus multiplies bread. And then I said the reason why it multiplies bread is because it was destruction of the Canaan, which was a stratified society. I'm trying to say, see, I'm a communist, so I'm like, it was a stratified society, but then Jesus destroyed it, and that created abundance, because if you get rid of the stratification, you create communism, you're going to get abundance. Because I remember I was anti-Nazi, like pro-communist. So, and then I was looking at Finkelstein's ideas, and Finkelstein was like, yeah, the Jews never lived in Egypt. They were really Canaanite serfs. And, the genesis of Israel was just the Canaanite serfs rebelling and then creating more egalitarian society. So it was a communist idea by Finkelstein, who's who's a Jew, more of a dark-skinned Jew. So his belief was that the Bible is just communist. It was just came from communist Jews, basically, Marxist Jews, essentially. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to believe, because I was a Marxist Jew. That's the way I saw it. So I was like, okay. So that's basically what I wanted to do is undermine the Bible, because I saw the Bible as white supremacy, and I saw religion as white supremacy, and I was a Marxist. And I'm not going to go too much into details about that. But so I started sharing those ideas. But my mom, as I said, she was still hiding all my stuff that I posted on Facebook, right? And I was sharing those ideas on Facebook too. So I'm thinking, okay, people aren't paying attention to the quadrant model. Maybe they'll pay attention to this. But I'm posting it on INTP Central. The people on INTP Central like it, right? All my communist ideas. But then, some of them like it. But people thought it was pretty amazing that I'm coming up with these really brilliant ideas. But, I'm basically anti-white, I'm a communist, but I really just want to get my basketball videos, and I wanted to make people think I'm very smart and I'm going to be very powerful, and so that they would be more likely to give me the DVDs. So again, I was not in the flow, but again, if I wasn't stuck on Kauai, I probably would have never done all of this. I would have just probably asked people if I had support and love and care for my parents, but I'm stuck on Kauai, and I'm calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, can you guys please, can I come home? Can you guys please help me? And again, this is still like it was just like in high school, because my mom already hated me from then. She's like, no, you can't come home. If you come to Los Angeles, we're going to make your life hell. You're just a schizophrenic freak. You need to start taking medicine. You need to go to a doctor on Kauai and start taking medicine. And I'm like, and again, like, she's hiding all my stuff. She just would have talked to me. If my mom and dad would just talk to me. But again, yeah, then maybe I wouldn't have been in such fear. But I'm stuck on Kauai. my grandpa is persecuting me. My grandpa's telling them, yeah, Ryan just wants independence is what he really wants. He just wants independence. And so my mom and dad interpret that as, okay, let's neglect him and get rid of him. And, but my grandpa says, well, they misinterpreted what I was saying. I wasn't saying to do that. But again, he's a bad psychologist. He made things worse for me, dude. So bad for me. So I'm trying to get a hold of my mom and dad, trying to get them to help me. My mom's just like, you're just a schizophrenic freak. Your dad's never going to talk to you. He fucking hates you. He's embarrassed he has a schizophrenic son. I didn't have schizophrenia. I didn't have anything. So I'm trying to talk to them. They're not responding. And I'm just trying to get the Quadrant Model stuff out, but I didn't know my mom is hiding all my stuff. Every time I make a Quadrant Model post, my mom was hiding it. Then I finally figured it out because I was on my Facebook one day and I posted something and then I noticed it went on only me. And I was like, what? And I start looking down and I start seeing all my posts are only me. And I was like, how is that? So then I'm like, I start to only me the posts and make them public. But at the same time, I started calling my friends to see if they have my basketball videos, right? So I call my friends and I'm like, hey, so-and-so, hey, bro, do you have any basketball videos when we were younger? Some of my friends said, yes, we have basketball videos. So I'm like, okay, good, cool. So I'm thinking, okay. But then I noticed my mom's hiding on my posts. So then I pressed unhide all my posts. But then I had all these posts that were communist Marxist posts. Like anti-religion, communist, because I was manipulating. I wasn't in the flow. I thought if I can show my friends how smart I am and how like powerful I can be, then they'll be more likely to give me the videos. But then, ironically, again, like my grandpa says, the good I would, I do not, that which I would not, I end up doing. Out of my fear, I ended up sabotaging and jeopardizing everything. So I wanted to get my videos, but then I unhid all this stuff thinking, okay, this is going to be more likely to get my videos. But then my friends start calling me like, hey, yo, Ryan, something happened and there was a flood and I lost your videos and all that. And I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, and in my mind, I'm like, these people are fucking lying to me. So then I start to try to scare them. And again, this is when things just all spiraled out of control. But this is what I'm trying to say. If I wasn't on Kauai, if they just would have listened to me, if they just would have talked to me, my mom and dad, if they would, maybe all this crazy stuff would not have happened. And I just wanted to study my basketball videos. I want to study the swag flow. So this is the most thing I'm wanted more than anything in the universe is my basketball videos. So then now everything's falling apart. And then I'm thinking to myself, oh no, it's because I posted all this anti-religious communist stuff, saying that the stories of Jesus was just a metaphor of the destruction of the Roman Empire and the Jews converting the Romans. That was just a trick because, Jesus is on the cross and then the Jews say, put the blood on us. And, that's he was a Passover lamb that frees them of their sin. And their sin was they were supposed to die from their sin. But instead they converted the Roman army who was supposed to kill them into Christianity, which made it so that the Roman army would not kill them because they became Christians. And that saved the Jews. And Paul was like, yeah, don't kill the Jews. Give them material resources and all that. I'm like, you see, it was just all a trick. I wanted to destroy Christianity, but I'm posting all that stuff on my Facebook, and I'm basically trying to undermine. But my thing was, my teammates were Christians. A lot of them were Christians, and then they're like, "Oh, Ryan, by the way, we don't have your DVDs anymore." And I'm like, "Fuck, I fucked it up." I just want my basketball videos, dude. I just want them. So, but I still didn't ask Malik yet at this point because I thought, I'll first get the power and then I'll ask Malik. But anyways, to make a long story short, then I basically sabotaged getting my basketball videos. And I just wanted to study the swag flow. I'm not going to get into details about what the swag flow is, but again, like, I can be hard on myself. My grandpa would be like, take responsibility. Yeah, it was your software. You're trying to make things happen. It was your software. And yes, I did have a negative software. I was predator-prey orientation toward white people. My mind was not in accordance with the truth. I was, stuck in the ego, and I saw myself as Jewish, and I was anti-white, and yeah, that's true. Yes, I did have a limited software, and that maybe, prevented me from seeing things as they truly are, as my grandpa would say. But I didn't understand his teachings at the time. So yes, that was true. But and maybe I was living in fear, and I should have just asked people. I wasn't in the flow. I should have just asked people, and I shouldn't have tried to, But at the same time, it's like, but also if I wasn't stuck on Kauai, and if my mom and dad would have just talked to me, I'm trying to talk to my dad. My mom's like, he's never gonna talk to you. You're just a fucking freak. You're a schizophrenic freak. I'm trying to talk to my mom. She's like, you're just a fucking loser. You're a fucking piece of shit. It wasn't the shoot away machine. And then I go to my grandpa and I talk to my grandpa. I'm like, Grandpa, can you help me talk to my mom and dad? Because I want him to help. And my grandpa's like, well, I talked to them. And no, he's the one who's like, make him independent, right? And I talk to them. He doesn't want to talk to you. Only when you become independent will he want to talk to you. That's really what they want, because if you're dependent, then they're going to resent you, and they resent you because you don't have a job and you're not independent. But in my mind, I'm like, dude, I discovered a theory of everything. You guys need to help me. He's like, well, they'll talk to you once you become independent. But the ironic thing was, my mom didn't think I could get a job. My mom was like, you're schizophrenic. You need to get Social Security. So it's like, if they just would have just talked to me, treat me like a freaking normal person, dude. But my grandpa didn't help. As I said, my grandpa always made things worse. So I tell my grandpa, I'm like, Grandpa, I figured out what happened in high school. And he was like, what? And I was like, it was the shoot away machine. The shoot away machine messed up my shot. And again, it wasn't just a shoot away machine. It was a shoot away machine and my dad. But again, my grandpa's whole thing was like, never blame anybody, because you just take responsibility for everything. So don't never blame it. So I didn't want to blame my dad. So instead I said the shoot away machine, when it really was a shoot away machine and my dad. But I'm like, it was a shoot away machine. My grandpa was like, ah! He started laughing. Ah! Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And I'm like, what are you talking? He was like, he was like, that's not what happened. It wasn't the shoot away machine. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? And he was like, what happened was you were playing against bigger, better players, and you got frustrated, and you took the frustration out on your dad, and that's why your dad beat you up, and that's what happened. It wasn't the shoot away machine. You're just playing against bigger, better players, and you got frustrated. So again, my grandpa always blaming the victim. It was the shoot away machine. It had nothing to do with me playing against bigger, better players. That's not what me and my dad had problems with. Our problems was my shot got messed up, and you were trying to fix it, and my dad was telling me to do the wrong thing. It had nothing to do with that. Nothing. But my grandpa wanted to make me the bad guy. He's never helpful to me. He made me so crazy. But again, I can't blame, but also my grandpa said, woo. I'm also very thankful for him, because he also helped me to break free of the communism, and he helped me, I have a very comprehensive, deep understanding of existence because of him. But he made me crazy, dude. That really is not true. It was a shoot away machine. So I'm like, dude, my grandpa, and I tried to tell my mom about the shoot away. She's like, oh my God, it wasn't the shoot away. You just fell apart because you couldn't handle the pressure. No, if it wasn't for the shoot away machine, none of the crazy stuff would have happened. And if they would have just been talking to me, if they would have just listened to me, just listen and be freaking normal, be some decent human beings, be decent parents, man. But they're not. They still haven't talked to me to this day. I still haven't talked to my dad to this day. So everything backfired. Then I didn't get my basketball videos. And then I start to freak out even more. So I'll get to this.